Our signpost is ready to go.
That's
We've
good.
seen it, we've seen it, we're so excited.
It costs $250. I thought that was pretty reasonable. How we're gonna put it up there? Don't know.
Hey,
I had her, there's a wheel, there's a way.
We're here for a friend of mine's tractor and we can get in the bucket or something.
Michael's tall.
I don't think it's.
We don't have to adhere to OSHA.
Love you, little brother.
if we just have somebody. Yeah. We just have somebody down there going.
On your
Yeah.
life insurance?
Very good.
Or your favorite sister is.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I have a
Yes.
question.
Mhm.
Because I don't know the answer.
Mhm.
Miss Vicky texted
Mhm.
and asked if because it was Mother's Day that we do something different for potluck, and I didn't know the answer because we haven't been here for Mother's Day.
Okay.
It's used to be homecoming, used to be our decoration day, but nobody has come in years.
No, they haven't.
So
It's just.
Last year, there was one person come and they did not show up to any of our festivities.
yeah, they don't come inside anymore. The people
Yeah.
that do come, they won't come inside.
It was really cool, but it's not as big for younger people,
Yeah.
but it was cool because people would come and
They're
they were the
big
ones that
out
didn't come to service would be out there and we'd have potluck on the grounds.
Yeah.
Then there was a few weather and all that, but yeah, it was, and we used to, and we have singing in the afternoon. But now potluck, just tell her, it's just plain food you want to bring and eat. I don't know of anything.
And bring something if you don't want to eat it. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody will eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, special thing.
What you are?
All right. Any other announcement before we get into the lesson? Okay. All right, let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. And before we read this verse, I do want to clarify. I said something Sunday that was not accurate. I am not above
Fired.
yeah.
That fell
Wait a minute. One strike this whole entire year. I've almost made it. All right.
Kyle, it's only like the 5th month, like.
Saying that's gonna get you in trouble. This
No. Yeah. And now it's just gonna be y'all ain't gonna even say Velcro, y'all just go.
may not even have caught it, so
There we go.
we may have been gracious and thought,
I already forgot what it was,
Well,
but I forgot.
so I said Sunday, all right, that Ephesus, okay, was around Mount Olympus. That is not accurate. When I was looking through my notes and everything, I was like, oh my goodness, Ephesus is like over on the other side of the ocean. Okay, like
In Turkey.
Yeah. All right. So this is Ephesus over here. If you can just imagine, I failed geography. So just bear with me. Okay. So Ephesus is over here somewhere. All right. And across the sea is Thessalonica and Mount Olympus. Okay. So Thessalonica is, you can see Mount Olympus from Thessalonica, but Ephesus still had a bunch of idolatry, worship, and all that kind of stuff. So that was right, but the location of Mount Olympus was not. So
it wasn't doctrine.
I know, but I just
Most
wanted to
of us
clear that
didn't
up.
even know. So.
Well, I was questioning because I was like,
Uh-huh.
no, I really
Yeah,
was.
I know.
No, I really was because you said Diana, and I was like,
Yeah.
Artemis was the Greek goddess, but I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong on that. So you had me question myself.
Well, there you go. See, that's always good. Just stay firm.
I'm like, I know my Greek mythology. I was like, I don't think.
If you say something doctrinally wrong, we probably jump on it. But
There we go. There we go.
Yes,
So-
yes, there you go.
we're there. We're not.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna go.
Yes.
That's what you say, dude.
So in Thessalonica, okay, Paul is writing to the church. Now, like I said, and I've clarified that they was very much, anywhere in that culture, in that area, they had to deal with a lot of idol worship. Okay, Greek mythology, that kind of thing. Here, the believers at Thessalonica, they were an example. Even Paul used that, and we're going to go to that in just in a little while. But they were an example of how to live their faith, even though the culture was against God. And it's almost like, well, what we see today, that very much culture is against God. Now we have, as well as Revelation said, there's a lot of people that have the form of God, but they deny the power thereof. There's a lot that say, oh, I believe in God, or I believe in a higher power, or I believe in whatever. But it's very much where we, as Bible believing Christians, followers of Christ, we're trying to point people to the cross, bring people to Jesus, the true Jesus, not the culture accepted Jesus. But what we find here in First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 11 says, "Wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as ye do." Now, Paul is beginning chapter 5 of talking about the Lord's return, talking about the second coming, the day of the Lord, talking about the things that are going to take place beforehand. And he says in verse 1, he says, "But the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Now, I think it's very interesting that the phrase peace and safety, we have heard that many, many times today, even in the news. They don't say peace and safety, they say peace and security. Israel said it, the Arab nations around there, everybody is saying this peace and safety, or peace and security. I think that's a side note, has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. But I think it's interesting that they keep using that phrase. And so Paul is saying, because of the culture, because of what's going on, because of the Lord's coming, which is soon. I mean, any day it's sooner than what it has been. But he said, then he gets down to verse 11. He says, you need to comfort one another. Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's why in verse 11 it says, wherefore. Anytime in the scripture you see the word wherefore, you've got to look back to know why it's there, because it builds upon. Paul was very much, how he wrote was he built upon things. And so he says, because of the Lord's coming, because of all these things, because of uh, uh, the Lord coming as a thief in the night to the people that aren't looking, that aren't paying attention. Okay. He says, because of that, in those days, we are to comfort one another. Because of Christ's salvation, we are to comfort and edify. So in verse 11, he says that we need to comfort ourselves together and edify one another. So we're going to look at those two words, comfort and edify, because we have to know that that's how we're supposed to be. We can comfort one another, but I think also we can go a little bit further, and we can comfort those that may, have this question. I've had this asked of me, what's going on in the news? What are we supposed to do with it? And the thing that always points us to is, well, everything that can point to Christ. But even in through all this, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen with the news and all the things that is going over in Israel. But what I do know is, one of these days, if we're here, or even if we're not here, Jesus is coming back.
The bad part about the news, though,
Yeah.
their job is to put out the truth and the facts.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to take that, but they don't. They put out their opinions
Yes.
and what looks good, and then you got to disseminate with that
Yep.
the truth and the facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bad part. And as a society, we have been brainwashed to say whatever's on that TV's got to be true. It's just like everything you see on Facebook or the internet is,
Yeah. I had a grandfather one time that he would never leave his house on a Tuesday,
one.
because he got a letter in the mail, and his thought was, if it came in the mail and it's written down, it has to be true. And he got a letter, and he was hoping every Tuesday that the Publishers Clearinghouse would come and bring him a huge check.
Mm.
So there'd be a lot of times where he'd be like, "Well, I can't come over to the house because I'm waiting on hopefully my public
Publish-
Publisher.
Right, so the deal is, yeah, that's a lot of it. They have interjected a lot of questioning of yes, we need to question anything. We don't need to just take it because, oh well, that's what CNN. Well, anyway, not trying to get political, but that's what the news says, or this is what the newspaper, or this is what I've seen on my phone. All of it is taken into question because there's a lot of facts that aren't really facts. They're changing it. Like you said, I agree. That changing that to try to be part of their agenda.
Off topic, but if you
Yeah.
want some real good news,
Yeah.
watch InfoWars.
InfoWars. Okay.
That dude is from a secret disclosed location every time he broadcasts because like every country wants to kill him.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we
I'm
go.
gonna say along that note.
Yeah.
Not related to the message or sorry,
No, it wasn't.
but on that note,
That's all right.
I have a friend who is a teacher
Mhm.
and he watches the German news
What?
because I said, "You speak German?" He said,
Yeah.
"No, I read the subtitles." He said it's non-biased.
Yeah. Well,
And I was like,
there we go.
"Oh, didn't think about that."
So Sunday morning, whenever I come in here and I'm starting spouting
Yes.
off, okay.
Yes. We'll be like, "We know."
yes, yes.
Going on with it. I just always told this little kid, don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see.
Mhm.
But now you can't even believe what you see.
Mm, That's true.
Unless it's me.
I didn't say that.
So back on topic. All right. So with all of this, okay, when we're talking about in verse 11, it says, "Wherefore comfort." Okay. Now, what comes to your mind when thinking of comfort? Comfort.
Mashed potatoes.
That's the way to say something, Johnny.
Baptist. There we go. I got you. Yeah.
After comfort is food, that's supposed to
Yes.
be right.
Comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sentences.
Peace. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yes. That's a good one. Okay. Do what?
Hug.
A hug. Okay. All right.
A newborn child.
There we go. Yeah. And a blanket. That's a good one.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Quiet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I think.
In the woods.
Comfort.
You bet.
Quiet. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this word comfort here, okay, it's different from, now I'm going to use, I don't normally use Greek. All right. So just don't, whatever. It's parakaleo. Okay. This is different from the comforter, the word parakletes, which means the one who walks beside. Okay. This comfort, this word means to call to one side, to beg, to console, to comfort, to encourage or strengthen. Okay. To call to one side. Now we know that the Holy Spirit is our comforter that walks beside us after we accepted Christ as our personal Savior. He takes up residence, He dwells within us, He walks alongside us. But this is talking about that you call to one side. Okay. You ask, you beg, you console or encourage or strengthen. Okay. Now it's interesting in verse 11, it says, "Wherefore comfort yourselves together." That means one another, reciprocally, which means for each other. Okay.
That's like if we come together
Uh-huh.
and we're leaving the outside world behind, that's comfort. Come in here together.
Mhm.
We
Yes.
comfort each other,
Mhm.
you know.
And yeah, and even, yeah, I mean, yes, exactly. It's that coming together to where, I tell you what, Wednesday night, I mean, I like Wednesday nights because it kind of helps us, or it helps me. I'll say me personally, helps me to just kind of, hey, we're gonna finish the week out. There are times when we miss a Wednesday night, or there is something missing. There is something that I think we miss out. And so, yeah, very much so that we come together, that we come, and he says, "You yourselves together for each other." We have to do this for one another. Okay. when we talk about comfort, it's like somebody lifting weights. Okay, you've seen videos of people lifting weights and that kind of thing, or you've lifted weights and all that. But you've got somebody that stands behind you because if you need help or you've got something that you put too many weights on or you slip or it falls or whatever, that other person's be able to help kind of pick it up and be able to set it right. Okay. Or if you're moving something heavy, you want somebody else to help with you to be able to shoulder that. And there are times when we have to comfort. Well, there's times when we need comfort ourselves, but we need to comfort one another. It's that it goes back and forth. So how do you comfort? Or how do you need comfort?
My word says exhort.
Yeah.
So to me, when I look at this verse,
Mhm.
yourselves together, I used to tell people at work, cause they're like, why do you go on Wednesday? We gotta get your tank full.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I tell them, that's when I go, because when we come together, anytime we come together, comfort, exhort,
Mhm.
all of that, then we're helping each other as a unit.
Yep.
And we're not that cold that's by itself.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what I think of when I'm reading this verse, cause it says yourselves together.
Yep.
So you can't, I'm not gonna say you can't get comfort by yourself, but I mean,
Yeah.
this part, I feel like is a together.
Yeah.
That's when we come and we love on each other and just whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know, that's kind of
No, yeah.
because when I see something like this, that's what I've always thought about our church family is if when we used to play ball all the time, it'd be like if somebody messed up, somebody else, hey, we'll pick you up. Well,
Yep.
to me, our church family, that's even a more special
Yep.
because we definitely should be all in one accord
Yeah.
and have our eyes on God,
Mhm.
and then and
Yeah.
because and that's what I'm thinking. Even now, we have so much sickness,
Mhm.
and my first thought was that's the only way Satan can attack us now
Mhm.
is because he can't attack us doctrinally, and because we're trying
Mhm.
to stay firmly together. But when everybody is sick
Yeah.
and they're by themselves, and when you're hurting, and some of our sickness is awful,
Yeah.
and life and death. And so I have been thinking about that lately, that okay, this is Satan's way to attack us, is through everybody's health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's he says, well, and that is his only way
Mhm.
right now.
Yes, right.
Now I'm not going to say we're all perfect and all that, but I think we're all trying to stay together and all that. But when
Mhm.
it just seems like, and I know we're all getting older, but it just seems like that we just really been hit with, well, to me, that's a sign that Satan's like, okay,
Yes, right.
it's kind of like picking people off one at a time. Well,
Yeah. Yes, right. And that's that comfort. Sometimes we don't want to ask for comfort. You know, it's we'll get to that in just a few moments. But how do you comfort someone, or how do you need comfort sometimes? I know sometimes depending on the situation, some things can be a little bit different. But how do you comfort, or how do you need comfort?
Just give them something to lean on.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe word of encouragement, or
Be there.
scripture.
Might even just be sitting there beside them,
Yep.
not even saying that, just let someone
Yep.
know
Right.
you're there for them
Yep.
other than self gain or something,
Yeah, yeah,
and if they want to scream at you or holler, throw something, you're there,
yeah.
out there, whatever you need, and you don't got to say a word when you're
Yep.
there for them.
We have something at our family. We kind of do what we call shared space. It's kind of like, I don't really want to talk to you. It's not that I'm mad or anything. It's just I'm gonna do my thing, and you're gonna do your thing. It's kind of like now that Brittany's done with college. Woohoo! I know. I don't know. I'm not more excited than she is. I just want to say that. But there's times where it's like, well, I asked her the other night. I was like, now that you don't have homework, what are you going to do? She's like, I'm going to cross stitch or cross stitch. Anyway,
Crochet and then
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna cross stitch.
Yeah.
Then he told
Well,
me
I'm-
to fix something.
I'm saying, do what?
Say both words.
Yeah, you know,
Well, you
she might do this.
I don't know about that, but say,
Yeah, that's okay. You know, or I may read or something, or things like that that we call about we say it's shared space where it's like, hey, I just want you in my presence. And I don't know about you guys, but me, it's like, it's not that we have to do anything together. It's just I want to just be there. I want you just to sit right here.
Sounds like a good marriage. Sit
Yeah.
there, be quiet.
No, now wait a minute. I did not say that. Moving on, but
I don't feel.
You're welcome.
or we could pray for them. That's something that I think is a privilege to do. Not only to pray for somebody, but there are times where we need to ask that somebody prays for us.
Amen.
We as Christians, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to God, or it may be some little thing, or whatever it may be. I think that we still need to not overlook that we as Christians still need to ask people, hey, please pray for me. I need comfort right now. And so, along with this continuing to go, why do you think it is hard to ask for comfort? This word comfort means to add to call to one side. Okay. So why is it hard for us to ask?
Because I'm a man.
Okay. Okay.
Well, we've been taught it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
If I have to come to you as a saved person and say, look, I'm dealing with this.
Yeah.
We've been taught and trained, well, that means your faith is weak. Well, no, my faith is there.
Yeah.
My flesh is weak
Mhm.
and it's struggling.
I think it's not as serious. I mean, like,
Yeah.
just like Doyle,
Mm.
it's some of the things
Mhm.
you think, well, mine's, even with my knee, it's like, yeah, but it's not,
Yeah.
to me, it's not even in the realm of
Yes.
somebody that's really
Mhm.
having problems. So sometimes you think,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
why I love teaching little kids because, their sick puppy that's a big thing to them.
Yep.
We're sitting there thinking it's a sick dog. What?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to them, that's a huge.
Yes. Well, and sometimes we don't want a burden.
Mhm.
I don't want to be a burden on you. Well, guess what? We're gonna be a burden on somebody. We're not gonna get out of this life not being a burden on somebody. Because this is something I've started to realize. You may not ask for help. You may not ask for comfort. You may not ask for all these things, but there is somebody that is thinking about you and taking you or your name to prayer. And guess what? You're already a burden. And I know that sometimes that we look at that word burden as a negative, but it's not always. It doesn't always carry that connotation that it's a negative thing. Man, there are times when we need to be burdened for each other. I think sometimes that we don't we're uncomfortable about it, or like somebody like Miss Karen said, small or insignificant thoughts or problems. It's like, well, I'm good. Well, to you, it may be something that really you need, you know. Or the biggest thing that I thought of, man, I don't want to be complaining, you know. It's like, well, if what is that squeaky wheel gets the grease or whatever. I mean, my goodness, there are times when it's like it's not complaining to ask for help. It's not complaining to ask for each other to maybe help comfort or encourage or strengthen or whatever it may be. We each need comfort. There are going to be times when we ourselves need to be comforted, but also we'll be able to comfort one another, because I think it's amazing how that God works throughout our life. That there's a verse, I don't remember where it was, but there was a verse that says that God will give us the comfort, and then He will give us the comfort that we need, and that we will be able to then turn around and comfort them or others with the comfort that we ourselves have. Okay. There may be a time when we are being needing to be comforted, to where then we can turn around and be able to comfort someone else. That's how this Christian life is, that we're comforting each other, we're helping somebody. Culture tells us this. Culture, right, tells us that we need to pull ourselves up from our own bootstraps. Well, is that really true? No. There are times when it's like, man, I don't know about you, but there are times where I can't even find my own boots. I don't even know how. I don't, tell me what I need to do. But there may be something that situation that there is no way. Okay. What does Jesus tell us? That's what the culture tells us, to pull our own selves up. God tells us, call out to each other and comfort. Here, Paul says, wherefore, okay, comfort yourselves together. All right. So then the next one is edify. Verse 11 says, and edify one another, even as also you do. So edify, the word edify means to build a house up from the foundation, to restore, to repair, to promote growth in Christian wisdom and love. It's being able to be there to encourage, to grow, and help to continue to go, to continue to keep on going. So how do we edify? How do we edify? Or how can we edify each other?
I think part of it goes back to what we were talking about, because
Yep.
one thing I've noticed, Karen's talking about, so many of us are having serious issues, but it's easy for somebody to say, pray for Doyle, pray for James, pray for,
Yeah.
and you do that,
Mhm.
but without having some similar something to put in your own life. Now that I have that going on in my life too, I can go, okay, this is what they need, God.
Yep.
I can make it more personal,
Yeah.
which makes me reach out more, and I'm not looking at myself all the time too.
Yes.
So I think that helps me. I can now go out and maybe not, I'm not that on touch thing, I don't
Touchy feely.
get, yeah, I don't get next to you and, snuggle and stuff, but, but I can get a better prayer out now.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Like, I
Yeah.
can take the time and not just say,
Yeah.
Father, remember Doyle.
Yeah.
I can get a lot better than that.
Mhm.
And I think he expects us to get a lot better than that.
Yes. Yes.
When somebody's asking us to pray for them, we're not helping them by just saying, God, remember Brother Doyle, because God knows Brother Doyle.
Mhm.
He knows what he needs. He already has all that.
Yes.
He wants us to know Brother Doyle.
Mhm.
And so I think that's part of it. We got to see it first before we can edify.
Yep.
If we can't see it,
Yeah.
we're just, how are you doing today? Oh yeah, that's okay. Glad you're doing okay. We're not meaning anything. We're just
Mhm.
going through the motions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes we get in a habit
Oh yeah.
where and it's not that we're like, I know a lot of times we all mean well, but it's like, it's, and I think in some ways we can kind of help somebody that may not know, you know, like one of the things that I, in my life, it's like, you want to help, but you don't know how to help. But then it's like, then if somebody says, hey, this might be that's a good thing, because I don't think we should have that attitude of, I don't need no help.
Mhm.
No, it's if if we can find out ways that, very much I agree, find out ways to where it's like, okay, don't just use it as a scapegoat. And you know, I think that there are times when we do use prayer as a scapegoat of, okay, I've done all I can. Well, if you can only pray, then do that. But I agree. If we can, go a step above, try to help, try to do something.
What about like, one thing I learned, especially dealing with my mom and my dad, um, little things that it's not that we take for granted, but just like
Yeah.
telling somebody they did a good job on something. I
Mhm.
don't care what it is.
Yeah.
It could be the littlest thing, and they're gonna stop and think, oh, because I always remember I took a college course even when I was working, and they're like saying somebody's name and all of that, but you're getting personal
Mhm.
when you're saying that, but just telling them, oh, hey, you did a good job on that, or and things that we don't think much because, well, they're getting paid for this. And I know some people probably remember me talking about when my dad had his first knee replacement. And my dad was always one. I mean, if he would have had it before he had his heart attack, he probably would have walked out of there. But he didn't. So he was weak.
Mhm.
And we ended up having to stay like 3 weeks and all that. And I met a cardio nurse, an RN. And I mean, they worked 12 hours shifts and all of that. Well, dad ended up having to go to the cardio unit. And don't know why and all that, but she took care of them, every man. There was 4 men in a room, just like it was hers,
Yeah.
her dad, you know, and little things that you don't think of and stuff like that. And I mean, it can't be pleasant when you're sick and you got your family and all that, but it was just like, and I became friends with her, but then when they were gonna send him to Fort Root, the other veterans, and it was just like instant. And I was scared, dad was scared, and I was upset and running, and I seen her boss. She had introduced, well, she just told me who she was, and I ran in there and I said, I just wanted you to know how much I appreciate Kristen doing what she did and the way she took care of my dad. She took care of him like it was her dad and all that. 3 minutes of my time.
Mhm.
Didn't, and I was just, and then, got into Fort Root and all that. Well, once I finally got home after a few weeks, I got a call from Kristen. And she goes, did you talk to my boss? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, just that little bit, they used to have a thing at the veterans that if people, turned them in for good and all that, they got 4 hours of vacation. That's huge.
Yeah.
3 minutes of my time.
Mhm.
And it was just something that we think about, oh, we're gonna say, but we don't, and so after that, I was like, wow, and so I was leaving the motel. I didn't stay there much. I stayed at the VA, and I was telling the girls when they left, I got to be friends with them, and they're like, I said, well, I was gonna talk to you about, oh, she just went out. And she said, we never hear that.
Yeah.
All we hear about is people saying, well, this didn't go right and this didn't, and
Yeah.
and they're people. And, and I think sometimes it's little things. Hey, you did a good job, or, and when people even come into church, or,
Yeah.
just little things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think sometimes it's in our minds, but we don't take, I'm gonna, but,
Mhm.
and so I don't know what, after that experience, I was like, wow, that was just something that made somebody else's day. So it makes your day too.
Yes, ma'am. And you brought it, you kind of hinted at it, but yeah, spiritually speaking, we even with other brothers and sisters in Christ, that's what we need to do. We think, oh well, they already know that, or whatever. There, it's not that we need to know that. Wait a minute, let me try to. It's like taking the trash out. Okay. Let's see if I can. I know you're just hold off. Wait a minute. It's like taking the trash out. You know you need to do it. Nobody's going to tell you, "Oh, you did a good job." But I feel like in following Christ, it's good to encourage each other, even saying, "Hey, you did a good job." Or what I love is, on Sunday morning, "Hey, I'm glad you're here," because yes, this we know we need to be here. We want to be here because that's we're serving God and all this kind of thing. But out in the world, we hear everything negative, everybody complains, true complaining, and all that kind of stuff. But it may mean the difference to somebody.
Choice.
Yes, it may mean the difference of somebody saying, you know what, hey. And that's one thing that at this church I've heard from a number of visitors. It is a very warm, loving church. And I feel like we need to continue to do that. And I want to say, I mean, ultimately, I want to say, I think every that is a great thing to have as far as a church of that love, because there are a lot of churches that don't have that.
Mhm.
And so yeah, just encouraging, just telling, these things, it makes the difference.
Well,
It
we
makes
think
the
we're
difference.
bragging, or not
Yeah.
bragging, but we're bragging on them, and we don't want, there's a fine
Yeah.
line.
Yes.
Because I was telling Elsa,
Yeah.
when she
Yeah.
was talking about Aaron and all of that, and
Hmm.
there's a fine line kind of between pride, proud, because you should be proud when
Yes.
they're working real hard and they're doing a good job.
Mhm.
But sometimes I think, well, if we tell them,
Yeah.
because you hear that from the world, oh, you're bragging on them, or you think you're so good. No,
Mhm.
it's,
Mhm.
because we still need to tell
Yes.
that we are proud of you.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's pride. I know we got to watch that, but I think we went the other way so bad now
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
it's like, You know,
I think it's when it's more towards what we've done instead of what God has done.
Yes.
And yes, I mean, yeah, we need to brag on God, yes, but we also need to brag. And I will say this because they have chosen to listen and surrender. That's good.
right.
And so, yeah, I agree.
I think that's why we need to encourage our kids. Like if they're brave enough to get up there and sing in front of us, we need to tell them they did a good job.
Yep.
Mhm.
If even getting up and telling the Sunday school report, when you're looking at a whole bunch of adults, that's a big thing.
Yep.
But by telling them, keep working at it, keep doing devotionals, keep singing, keep doing all these things.
Yeah.
If they don't do it when they're little, they're not going to do it when they're grown.
Yeah.
And there's not one person that's ever got up on that stage and done anything and not messed up.
Oh yeah.
So there's no, that's what I try to tell people. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You just gotta, because if you did that, then nobody's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Cause I don't care how good you are,
Mhm.
I'm saying all my life, you're still gonna mess up. So, and it's still scary.
Mhm.
People don't think that, but yeah, I'm 65 years old and there's times you get up there and you can't swallow and all that. So what is it to a young person?
Yeah.
And we need to encourage and
Exactly.
say, "Hey, everybody messes up. Just
Mhm.
We'll just tell them the
Yep.
pastor even messed up Sunday. So it's, you know,
The scariest things I ever done was at church camp doing that devotional. And when you're standing in front of 300 kids,
Yeah.
the adults, who cares? But them kids, when you got their attention, exactly. And it's like, I don't want to steer them wrong,
mhm.
but I want to give them my piece from the Bible and my point of view from my perspective, and don't want to steer them the wrong way because the devil is so good at that,
Mhm.
because anybody that thinks that the devil don't know that Bible
Mhm.
can quote that joker better than anybody you've ever seen.
Mhm.
But all it takes, though, while he's quoting it, is he can change two words around and he's got the whole verse perverted.
Yeah.
But it sounds good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yep. Well, and on top of that, how else do we edify? Showing how to grow.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about, well, this word edify means to repair, build a house from the ground up, restore. When you're remodeling, you're doing these things. You're showing how to do these things. And as a child of God, yeah, you know, don't purposefully mess up, but there are times when yes, when we, like what y'all have already said, singing, we mess up. Well, we keep on going. Show them how to grow, how to learn, how to, and then teach. That's another thing, how we can edify one another, teach, be also able to be taught, but then teach someone else. Work alongside.
I think that's why it's so important to have your children right out here with all the adults.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm not much on this children's church,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
They need to be out here and witnessing their parents going, not just going through the motions, but they're doing it, and
Yes.
being part of it. And
Mhm.
they, just like mom said, they're sponges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
I think part of edifying is confirmation too, just like
Yeah.
we've been talking. If
Mhm.
you don't do it just to praise them.
Yep.
But confirm that they're doing it
To lift
correctly.
them up.
Yes.
Yeah, lift them up.
Yes.
This is the way we do
Yes.
it. This
Yep.
is the way. It has a meaning, it has a purpose.
Exactly.
The Lord.
Yeah.
The Lord sees and knows
Right.
everything, and
Mhm.
Yes.
he doesn't see the mistakes. He sees your heart.
Exactly. Exactly. Which brings me to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. When you're edifying one another, we're learning to grow, helping to affirm what we're doing, to be patient. He also says, verse 11, that we one another. We all need this. Same thing with comfort. We need to be comforted, but we also need to comfort someone else. But we also need to edify one another. But we also, in time, needs to be edified. Also, it goes both ways. And so with the culture, it tells us no one tells me what to do. That's what the culture is. You know, I don't need anybody explaining, or I don't need anybody teaching me anything. But what does God teach us? It tells us, God tells us to build each other up, grow each other. Let them build, or let them build and grow us. So why is it hard to edify or let someone edify us? Why is it hard sometimes to edify someone, or on the other flip side, to let somebody edify us?
Sometimes we might think we're above it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Leave it.
we're not worthy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do think that.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I think sometimes we don't want to offend, because edify, it has that connotation of, somebody's doing something wrong, we encourage them. Hey, that's not the way. Um, we have thoughts of, well, they won't listen. They're not going to listen anyway. I think that's a bad attitude to get into.
they may not
They
listen.
may not.
They may not listen, but down the line,
Yep.
they may be at the depths, and they may remember
Exactly.
a Bible story they heard. They may remember something that you did at work when people were doing something. And
Yeah.
I think God gives a call to remembrance on
Yes, ma'am.
that. So yeah, and we may never see it,
Yes, ma'am.
but
Yes, ma'am.
but I, you hear that a lot that, well, I remember, there might be old adults, and then I remember when my grandmother took me to church, and I remember all that because they had nothing else to cling to,
Yes.
and that's sad,
Mm.
but they'd still heard it, and so they still have that memory.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think it's interesting how things are different. Like, let me say, things are different to other people. It's like with that. Okay, my grandmother brought me to church. She didn't, but this is an example. My grandmother brought me to church. Okay, well, what you didn't see was that grandmother that was pulling her hair out because she was mad. She probably whipped you 3 or 4 times in the day to try to get you to church. You're finally there, and yet that's not the stuff that that matters. It matters that we did what we're supposed to do.
Mhm.
Now,
Took out the trash.
do it. Take it out of the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So then, okay. So then Paul says, even as also you do. I want you to go to First Thessalonians chapter 1. Okay, First Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 7. Or let's back up to verse 5. First Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 5 says, for our gospel came not unto you in word only, but also in power and the Holy Ghost, and in much assurance, as you know what manner of men we were among you for your sake. And ye became followers of us and of the Lord, having received the word in much affliction with joy of the Holy Ghost. So that you were ensamples or examples to all that believe in Macedonia and Achaia. For from you sounded out the word of the Lord, not only in Macedonia and Achaia, but also in every place your faith to God were to spread abroad, so that we need not to speak anything. Paul was encouraging them, but also reminding them they were examples. Man, that's you know, we are not above anybody else. But the deal is, to be an example is something that we should strive to be. To be able to strive to be not only an example of, hey, even though the culture is against God, even though we're living where we can see Mount Olympus and we have all culture and everything is against God, and even today we have all much of the same things, yet Paul said they were an example of turning from that to following God, even in the days where it was difficult for them to do that. Paul says in verse 11 of chapter 5, he says, wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as also you do. He said they were already doing that. Keep on doing that. So, what it encourages us that we keep on comforting, keep on edifying, but learning that we need to do it, but also we need to, if we haven't, we need to start and keep on. That's what Paul was encouraging the Thessalonian believers, was encouraging them, telling them they were already doing this. Man, to be an example of that. So why do you think we and others need comfort and edifying. We kind of touched a little bit about this, but why do you think we or others need comfort or edifying today?
Just to uplift somebody.
Yeah.
What keeps us going?
Yeah, what keeps us going? It's like we know Paul here in in chapter 5, he's talking about that Christ is coming back. Do we know when Christ is coming back?
No,
No. Would it change anything?
we kind of do.
I don't know. If we knew 3 days from now that Jesus was coming back, what would change? Would we try to live better? Would we kind of wake up and say, you know what, I want to do this more. I want to be more of an example. I want to be more of a child of God. And Paul says, you don't need, verse 1, he says, you don't need to know because that's not what we're focused on. We're not focused on Jesus Christ coming back. We know he is, that's a done deal. But what our focus should be is what to do while we're here before either God comes back or he calls us home.
The song "Live Like You Were Dying."
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
live like God is coming back next week.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
But
We should be thinking about it every day.
Yes. But we as humans, what do we do? I mean, let's be honest. Okay, yeah, that's a done deal. But I've got plans. I've got things I've got to do. There's things, and we don't realize we don't. But Paul says, even as also you do. Let's keep on comforting one another. Let's keep on edifying one another because yes, it helps us to keep on going. It helps us get throughout the week. It helps us to encourage one another. And honestly, I think it encourages us even to kind of get back into if you want to call it, get back into the fight or get back in the game or whatever it may be. But encourage us to keep living out our faith because that's what we're supposed to be doing. And we can't do it by ourselves. Anybody have anything?
I've been thinking about while you're going through this lesson, if we could take whatever we're struggling with,
Mhm.
you know, and it might be something as simple as overeating, gossip, whatever. And if you could take that struggle and put it in the shape of like a human form
Mhm.
at one end of a rope and you're at the other.
Mhm.
And you're having this tug of war, which is basically what we do in our minds every day anyway.
Yeah.
But the more that you share with somebody else, like, and I've said this before, it's not, you don't have to air all of your dirty laundry.
Mhm.
Just say, hey,
Yeah.
Kyle, can you pray for me? I'm struggling.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to say what it is,
Yeah.
but then again, maybe you do
Yeah.
say, I'm struggling with this specifically. Can you please pray for me? The more people that you have on your side
Yeah.
pulling
Yeah.
on your side,
Yeah.
that saying many hands make light work.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And to me, and it goes right along with that the Greek definition of
Mhm.
coming alongside.
Yep. Yep.
And then to edify, you're building that relationship with each other. Like, I got your back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because you had my back, I've got yours.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's how my brain works.
No, it's a good one because and it takes time.
Hmm.
It takes time building that because
and that's all we can do. Really.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That I know it's a movie, but It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh
I don't know how many watched that, but in the very first, when he starts having problems, and then we see all these prayers going up,
Yeah.
God, they sing clean and all that, but that's and God doesn't need that. It's kind of funny, but I think of that too because
Yeah.
just think of all the prayers going up,
Yep.
just for you. And then when you do that for somebody else, then because that's the only thing we can ultimately do.
Right.
I mean, we can make somebody's day and edify and all that, but the prayer is,
Yes, ma'am.
that's what I'd seen and I put on Facebook that the best kind of love you can have is to pray for somebody because God ultimately is, he can solve all of the sickness and all that. And he's going to solve it one way or the other. It may be going home
Yes.
and it may be, healing. So, but yeah, when you guys were talking about that, I was thinking of Clarence and
Oh yeah, Clarence.
all the prayers, the lights and all that. But
Yeah.
it's a cool thought. I know there's a movie, but it's
Yes,
still,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And going back to what I was saying earlier, prayer, like Karen said, prayers are amazing, much needed, much appreciated. But if what you're struggling with is a physical struggle, it's so much better to have somebody. I just keep going back and thinking about y'all's work day on Saturday. Cause Jay come home and he was like, babe, we had the best time. He said it did not feel like a work day. He said we had so much fun. We got everything knocked out and it was fun. And I just keep referring back to that because I'm like, there was a job to be done.
Yep.
And whenever you can rely on those, especially those that you worship with, and to I mean, y'all could have all come in like really bad moods and crotchety and all that and been like, can you hurry up? Get your end done, Kyle. You know.
Hold on, time out. What are you, crotchety?
You've never heard that word? Yeah.
You'll have to stay on like a fifth grade level here.
You're the one using dissemination earlier. Yeah, you did. But yeah, so I mean, yes, prayers, but also like whenever somebody is struggling and you, like Tyler said, you just show up. Sometimes it's just sitting there. So this is kind of funny. So when we met at Vita's house, I was talking to Elsa on the phone because I was coming home from Russellville, so I made a flying trip home, and Elsa said, "Just hurry up, hurry up and get here so you can sit by me and I can pet your hair." And I was like, okay. And so as soon as we got there, Jay is sitting in one chair and he just looked at me because I went and sat by Elsa. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm sitting by my best friend. And he just looks at me and goes, I said, she knows what I need. And she's like petting my hair, playing with my hair. And Jay was like, well, I can do that too. I said, but she offered. You did not. So,
I mean, prayers, like
Yeah.
you said, because that says
Yeah.
about too.
yes.
Time that they're needing bread, we say, well, go home and we'll pray for you.
Exactly.
Then yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
prayer all the time, but prayer when we can't do anything. But yeah,
Yeah.
if we can go sit, do whatever, because we got to put feet to them, or it's not.
Yes, ma'am.
If we could live by Psalms 19 and 14.
Yep.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. My Lord, and my strength and my redeemer. Because the words of our mouth can hurt somebody deeply.
Yes.
So we need to.
Yes, ma'am. All right, let's all stand.